Hey there, welcome to another mod interview. This is Dead Rockstar, and today I'm here with John from July Anarchy Prologue. What's up, John?
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good, and yourself?
I'm doing pretty good.
Would you like to introduce yourself and explain a little bit about July Anarchy Prologue?
My name is Jonathan Schwach. I am in Massachusetts. I have just released July Anarchy Prologue, a mod for Neverwinter Nights, which strives to change Neverwinter Nights pretty much as it can be changed. It takes the it takes it from a fantasy setting to a very modern setting, and from a more turn-based combat to a very intense, fast-paced tactical combat game.
So, when did you start development on it?
Geez, it's kind of hard to pinpoint because I've originally started working on this as a visual aid to the novel back in 2005. But I didn't start working on it seriously as a game until I'd say 2009. And I'd say I decided to release it. I announced it sometime in January 2009 was when I announced it, and it was released about 6 months later.
I know that Neverwinter Nights has a decent amount of mods for it. How's the community reception for your mod?
It's kind of a difficult question to answer because the community for Neverwinter Nights, they're great. They're very dedicated. But they're also the mod community for Neverwinter Nights has kind of been moving in a singular direction towards games that try and emulate the original Dungeons and Dragons feel, which isn't a bad thing. But it made my mod, which tried to change everything up as much as possible, kind of a tough sell. I had a lot of people coming in saying, "Hey, this mod looks great, but it's not really my cup of tea." Um, but ever since I've released version 1.2 to a wider audience on ModDB.com, the reception has been much more positive.
So, is this your first project, or where did you start modding for Neverwinter Nights?
Again, that's kind of a hard time to pinpoint because I basically started playing around with the included tool set as soon as I bought the game in 2001. Serious modding, I'd say I didn't start with Neverwinter Nights until 2008 or 2009. Before that, the only form of modding I'd done was for were a couple of plugins for the Elder Scrolls Oblivion. One of them, the Barfight mod, um, was my first release. Ended up becoming pretty popular. I believe it's a Hall of Fame mod on PlanetElderScrolls.com, and it's actually kind of lives up to the spirit of July Anarchy in that it creates a lot of action, changes things up, and didn't originally get the most popular reception from the dedicated players.
So, do you like fish?
I like fish. My system does not. I get sick every time.
Well, that sucks. I like fish. Fish sticks are good.
Fish. I like pet fish. Pet fish are cool.
Pet
Goldfish.
fish. Oh yeah.
Or those little cheese fish.
My sister has a red billy. Oh, what is it called? But she has a really big fish. No, red belly pacu. That's what it is.
Right.
And the thing knows how to play catch. It's crazy. Like he'll like pick up a marble from like the bottom of the tank and he'll throw it against the glass. But anyway, we're
I
getting
heard
a
that's how
little.
they fight. Isn't that how they fight?
I don't
I
know.
think he's trying to. I think he's saying like, "Come at me, bro."
Probably. But we're a little off topic. So how many people are on your team?
It's just me. Although I really can't take 100% of the credit because a lot of the new content in this mod was created by the D20 Modern team, and they're they've created a load, an absolute mother load of incredibly useful content that they deserve the utmost credit for.
Could you tell the listeners a little bit about the D20 mod?
Yes, it's a content pack for Neverwinter Nights that began work. I believe they began work around 2001, 2003 or four when they wanted to make it possible for people to create modern mods for Neverwinter Nights. And they were originally met with a lot of skepticism and even hostility by the Neverwinter Nights community. I remember I was checking this stuff out. Some guy kind of was ranting on their forums. This isn't Counter Strike. This isn't Call of Duty. You guys are in the wrong place. But no, they kept going with it, and so far they've released. I believe they're at version 2.0 now, which contains just about every piece of content you can put into the game. They've got tile sets, which are the area toolkits you can use to create areas like modern cities or buildings. They have new weapons, guns, and stuff that just were not possible before in Neverwinter Nights. Sound effects, clothing, the works. It's all in there.
So it sounds like a really quality pack. Uh, when you're driving in your car, what song are you most likely to sing at the top of your lungs?
Um, huh. I really have to think on this one because there's a few, and some of them might get me in trouble if I'm driving near a school or an old folks' home. I have to say,
Old people burning, old people burning.
well, yeah. Here's the thing. I actually live right next door to an old folks' home, so I can't do a lot of screaming. I'd say the one I've kind of been belting out lately is a song "Zombie Man" by Dead Seasons, which is pretty catchy.
Oh, that's quality. I think I've been really listening to a lot of Pop Evil. If you've ever heard 155, that's a good one to sing really loud, especially when you're just driving with your windows down or something.
Right.
Uh, so I'm rather unfamiliar with Neverwinter Nights. Is it difficult to install your mod?
Um, if you're starting from scratch, it can be difficult to get your copy of Neverwinter Nights to run from the default version to a version that can run mods. Um, I don't want that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. There's definitely a lot of support. In fact, on my ModDB page or the page for July Anarchy, there's an included tutorial that can get you started from updating your copy of the game correctly, including links to the needed files, to installing all the content packs that you need. Installing all the content is really quite simple. Yeah, they all come in RAR packs. You can just drag and drop them into your Neverwinter Nights folder. And the same goes for the mod itself. Just drag and drop.
So what's your favorite fruit?
Are carrots fruit?
I'm pretty sure those are vegetables.
Ah, damn. Okay. Apples. No, wait, oranges. Wait,
Oh, apples or oranges, huh?
oranges. Well, yeah.
Pick one. I'm a
Um,
watermelon guy. Watermelon's good. I had a watermelon the other day. Moving on. So how many hours would you say you put into this mod?
oh God, too many, too many. No, no, you gotta understand. I was working on this between classes at college. Once I got into it, I just did not want to stop. Like that's kind of a habit I have. Once I start something, I just do not want to put it down until I either hate it or finish it. And in this case, I'd say, let's see, working on it seriously since 2009. It is not 2011. I'd say easily over a straight like 2 3 months of work going into this thing.
That's phenomenal. You can definitely see the amount of changes. Uh, could you explain some of the changes that are in July Anarchy Prologue
Yes,
compared to Neverwinter Nights?
yes. The most immediate change will be the setting. This does not take place in the Forgotten Realms or another medieval setting. It takes place in our world, specifically 500 years into the future, and it's a future that is a lot grittier than you might imagine. There's still a big touch of modern culture in there. The next thing players will notice, especially as they begin the game, is that the mod itself is a lot more gritty. There's plenty of harsh language. It's a very dark story. Gameplay wise, this is a very fast paced mod. The base concept of the mod is putting the player in a battle that never ends, that they can just fight in for as long as they can, and to make that battle as frantic as a real war. So you can't kind of walk into like do what you do in Neverwinter Nights, where you walk into your room, click on your enemy, and then just watch your character automatically hack everything to pieces. You have to be careful. If you're fighting one enemy, another like enemy twice as powerful can run up behind you, and you might need to change your tactics, change your weapons, sort out what spells, what type of grenades you have to get you out of that situation. So you're constantly thinking on your feet, which is a big change from the casualness of Neverwinter Nights. And another one of the new, I guess the big differences would be actually a fairly new addition, the adrenaline system, which gives you immediate rewards for killing enemies. Every time you defeat an enemy, you earn adrenaline, which simulates, adrenaline thrown into the body. You become stronger, faster. Your hits are more accurate, and this adrenaline builds up until it hits a limit where you reach what's called an adrenaline rush. From there, your strength, all your stats are just tripled. You move completely fast, and you're regenerating health, and you're basically a god on the battlefield. The twist to this is that once you reach this, your adrenaline levels will start draining. So you've got to run around the field, getting as many kills as possible before you run out of adrenaline. So it becomes a very tense, a very strategic fight, as opposed to Neverwinter Nights, where you just click one guy and eventually your character just wipes everything out.
So it's sort of like Samurai Warriors or Dynasty Warriors, if you've ever heard of that for the PS2. It's kind of like a hack and slash built on the Neverwinter Nights engine.
I can't really call it a hack and slash because the character normally in hack and slash games, your character is this tank that can just do whatever you want. Um, Neverwinter, I'm sorry, in July Anarchy Prologue, you're supplied with a pre-made character who is much more dexterous than strong. The challenge is that you have to utilize all these different kinds of equipment, from guns to swords to armors that all have different effects, as well as utilizing the environment. You can run around, like take cover. Yeah, I'm sorry, that's another feature I forgot to mention. You can take cover behind certain barriers to give yourself a defense boost. Um, so the player really has to do a lot more thinking on their feet as opposed to hack and slash games, because you're definitely just a few hits away from getting killed if you're not building up your adrenaline.
So could you tell us why don't you have a lot of watchers for this mod? You've done so much on it. I feel like you deserve a lot more than you got. Uh, where's all the popularity you're missing?
I wasn't really expecting this mod to come out with parades and fanfare. A big reason is Neverwinter Nights. It's a great game, but it's also been around for I think 10 years, almost 10 years now. So a lot of the focus has gone elsewhere, especially to the sequel Neverwinter Nights 2. Um, Aside from the community that does remain with Neverwinter Nights, many of them, again, this is not a bad thing, but they prefer to stay with familiar territory, such as Dungeons and Dragons settings or medieval settings. Many of the popular modules are direct remakes of original Dungeons and Dragons modules, like the pen and paper kind. Um, so I wasn't expecting much uh, much love from the original Neverwinter Nights community. What I was really trying to do was to bring in a whole new audience to Neverwinter Nights, because this is still a great game and there's still so much that you can do with this engine, and just not much has been tried. So I'd really like to put this out there and show people, hey, still a lot of life left in this thing. It's like there's still stuff being made for the original Half-Life or the original Doom. So let's take a look at it. And unfortunately, I think it's going to take a while for that to really catch on with the broader gaming population.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think that's the great thing about the mods or mods in general. There's quite literally there's no time limit. There's one thing I've discussed with a lot of modders. When you make a mod, if you make a multiplayer mod, you're losing players in the future. because there won't be those servers that were up at the time when you make a multiplayer mod. When you make a single player mod, like July Anarchy Prologue, you'll always be able to play it regardless. You won't have to, have other people online. So, could you tell us a story about or behind July Anarchy Prologue?
Would that be on the design or the plot, the concept?
Um, the plot actually.
All right. Well, unfortunately, I cannot say too much about the novel in progress. I'm not sure how much of this is going to come back and bite me in the ass later on. This is based on a novel I've been working on for some time. It is it is an urban fantasy novel, which is taking elements of the fantasy realm and kind of throwing them into our world, um, which is a lot. It's a pretty rare. Um, it's a pretty rare genre. Aside from, say, the teen romance novels, I think Twilight is technically an urban fantasy novel, but I'm looking more towards, say, Sergei Lukyanenko's brilliant story Night Watch, and the movies that inspired. And those are awesome movies. Um, that kind of urban fantasy where there's not like a barrier between what's modern and what's fantasy. The two are completely intertwined, and the kind of changes that brings, to society technologically, sociologically. Um, it's it it's Where July Anarchy is concerned, it has many themes. One of them pretty blatantly being the concept of anarchy. Um, I don't want to say that this is anarchy, some sort of anarchy manifesto, but it does look at what would happen if society were to kind of break down, the society that we're familiar with, and what happens in its place. What if something can't be put in its place? And it also deals really with character drama. What happens to people? What would happen to us if all these, elements of the fantasy world, from magic to elves to monsters, were to suddenly enter our world? Like, okay, what if you could, what if you could light a match with your finger, or cure cancer with a spell, or would an elf face racism in a downtown city district, or how would we react to suddenly, how would we, the human race, suddenly react to having natural predators, for the first time in really thousands of years. Um, so all that stuff I like exploring, and I'm really excited to write this story, which this game mod has been um, a major boost to writing.
So you completely made this story up from scratch. I mean, no help. This is all off your head.
Right, right. It's one of those stories. I think every writer has a story that they come up as a kid and just kind of carry it on with them and kind of like put pieces into it. Again, this began as something very different. It was really more of a sci-fi story at the beginning, and it's kind of melded into more of a fantasy modern, mash.
So, before the actual interview, you were telling me about another mod you were working on. Could you tell us about that?
Yes. This next mod, I'm actually more excited to put this out than I ever was for July Anarchy Prologue, just because it's coming along so well right now. The engine is like, with July Anarchy Prologue, I was just fighting the engine the whole time, and this time everything's just coming together so well. The mod is called Static, and this will be an old school survival horror mod. It's gonna feel a lot like the old survival horror games you played on the PS1, like Resident Evil or Silent Hill, in that it's going to have, the usual, the guns, with, barely any ammo going around, the fixed camera angles, and just a general feeling of suspense and dread around every corner. But what's really unique about this mod is it is actually based on true events. Specifically, it's based on a certain call that was made to a radio station on September 11th, 1997. Um, this is known as I believe, the Area 51 call, where radio host Art Bell kind of just put the question out one night. Okay, hey everyone at Area 51, what's really going on down there? Come on, call up, call in. And he was getting some pretty, nonsense responses at first, just people goofing around. But then he got this one guy who called up saying he was a former employee of Area 51 and that he had been let go on a medical discharge and had been fleeing the country ever since. And he began going on pretty hysterically about how there were extraterrestrial or extra-dimensional beings that had infiltrated our government and were working to create these disasters in our world that would wipe out most of the human population, so that those that were left would be easier to control. And somewhere, I'd say like a minute into this call, the radio station, Coast to Coast AM, Art Bell's radio station, got hit with God knows what. Really, the station went down. It was down for, I'd say, half an hour, and in that span of a second, just basically the whole area around that station was kind of in chaos. Like phone lines were getting cut, computers were getting wiped, just weird stuff. And it's something that I have a lot of interest in, because it's one of those rare, like extra, you know, conspiracy stories where we still don't really have a clear answer on. We have all this evidence that has never really been explored. I'm not saying the guy was right word for word. There's definitely been some weird stuff going on around that night, and who knows what kind of what kind of disasters he was talking about. Maybe he was predicting 9/11. It happened. That call happened September 11th after all, or maybe he was just bullshitting, and the whole the whole incident was just a coincidence. But with this game, I'm exploring the possibility that not only was he right, but that that after he made that call, that he had to then run from the forces he was trying to expose. So this mod will put you in the role of the man, the Area 51 caller, where you find out what happened to him after that call.
Wow, that actually just blew me away. That sounds really cool. I'm actually really excited for it now. And like you said, there is an Area 51 call. While you were talking, I googled it. Are you including any of the call in the mod, or uh continue on about it?
Okay, so much about it. Actually, that call, the I have pretty much the entire audio of that night of that broadcast being put into the mod. The story will actually be partially narrated by those actual broadcasts. Like you'll hear Art Bell come back on the radio saying, well, "That was weird. We just got this call from the guy," and then other people will be calling in, saying what happened, all talking about these are real calls, real broadcasts being put into the game, and it's all going to mirror stuff that's happening to you in the game. So it's definitely going to maintain a very real world connection between what's happening to the player and what actually happened, what's actually been documented to happen that night. And we're even going beyond that. Where I'm there. There's actually another theme being explored in this game. The theme of the secret government number stations. The number stations captured by the people of the Connet project. We've basically documented all these mysterious radio transmissions, supposedly sent out by various governments, that are just random numbers being read off from some unknown source. And people have kind of been scratching their heads trying to figure out what the heck these radio stations are, because they're out there, they're still going, and they're, if you look them up and listen to them, they're pretty scary to listen to. Um, so the theory we're going with, I don't want to go too much into how this is going to affect the gameplay, because at this point anything could change in the mod, but the number stations themselves, they will be included in the game, the broadcasts, and they won't just be an atmospheric touch. Like they will actually impact you when they play in the game.
Wow, I'm really excited for this now. I'm probably definitely gonna uh, talk to you more about this later on.
Awesome.
So, I guess that's it. Do you have anything you want to say to the modders as in closing?
Um, I never really identified myself as a modder until, well, I'd say I've never really identified myself as a modder at all. But since I've gotten into this, I've looked around at what other people are putting out with the big games like Crisis and Half-Life, and I'm just blown away at the stuff that people are putting out. Like I really hope I don't know how July Anarchy Prologue is going to measure up to all the stuff you guys are putting out, but I really hope to be at your level someday.
All right, that's about it. Be sure to comment, rate, subscribe, download, and try July Anarchy Prologue. I'm sure I'm going to right after this, and visit modinformer.org.